This is it. The first interaction with an alien species.
See, when we joined the academy, they said this day might come, but I never thought it would be in our lifetime. That just a species from not within this Earth has contacted us, and we just have to work out what it is they're trying to say, which is definitely not a daunting task at all.
No. Well, I mean, we've written all this script. I'm pretty sure the AI will be able to work it out.
Computer, we have some of the alien text here. We need some help trying to translate it, because right now we just have no idea where we're starting.
Please input text.
Okay, I guess we feed it into here, into the very specific alien text translator slot that we thankfully have on the computer. There we go.
That's some good text.
What do you make of it, computer? Can you work anything out from this?
It seems to be something about see-through squares and a diagram of the ocean.
I have no idea where we would even start with that.
Processing further. Message reads: Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. We come in peace and have chocolate cake.
Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Dale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet, and welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers, that show where two queer trans ladies talk about silly things and what they've been up to in their weeks and do skits and voices and such. How are you this week, Jane?
Yeah, I'm ready for a short week this week. Very, very ready for a short week.
Same, it's been a weird old week, this one. I've just been weirdly anxious all week.
It's only Tuesday.
I know, and there have only been 2 days of the week so far, and I've spent both of them, like, at least a good chunk of the day slightly anxious.
Heck, this is not
good.
This
is not good at all, but it's okay, because we did things with our week. Do we want to talk about some of those things we did?
I'd firstly like to address the fact that it's not been a full week since we last recorded. We usually record on Thursdays. This week we're recording on Tuesday because time constraints.
We've only had 5 days of queer and pleasant adventures. Oh no, how will we survive? We've had to squeeze extra queer and pleasant things in.
I don't know. I've barely had time to do anything. I had a very, very occupied weekend between editing last week's podcast and doing responsible adult things. Ugh.
I did some responsible and adult things too, but I also actually had some weekend time off, which is a nice fun rarity. So
what's that like?
I was like, I have to wedge in all of the not worky things that I can get done into 2 days.
Wedge them in, eh?
Wedge them in.
So what have you been listening to, watching to, or playing to?
I can start with a thing I've been watching this week.
Ooh.
I watched through season 2 of Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, which is a show on Netflix. I believe you've watched the first season of this.
I have, yeah. I remember enjoying it.
This is based on a book series by Douglas Adams, and
very loosely.
Yeah, it's
got the same title.
It's got the same title and kind of ish the same premise. Who knows? It might eventually go to the same place that the books were, that was kind of different, but loosely based on the Douglas Adams thing. The idea of season 1 of this show is that Elijah Wood is just living his life as normal, just being a person who works at a hotel, and all of a sudden he bumps into Dirk Gently, a holistic detective, by which he means he just kind of goes through life and cases find him and they kind of solve themselves around him, and it's, he just kind of happens to be there. The universe is all interconnected and it'll all eventually take him where he needs to go.
It's all interconnected.
Yeah, and that premise, when I first heard it, really turned me off of the idea of watching the show, because I thought, a detective story where you know that the person's kind of just going to stumble to the solution accidentally doesn't sound like an engaging thing to watch, but they make it very engaging with the ways that they play with expected tropes, and the journey to get where they go, I think, is very, very enjoyable to experience. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Well, yeah. I mean, going from my point of view, I had listened to the Radio 4 dramatisation of Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, and I watched. I think it was just a pilot. I can't remember if they did a whole series, but they did a Dirk Gently with Stephen Mangan as Dirk.
Oh, I never saw that.
He does Scruffy very well, but I don't remember being particularly into that version of the show. But yeah, I like the Netflix one very much.
Yeah,
in a strangely American way.
Yeah, so I watched season 2 of it this past week, and what I will say about it is I was very dubious because season 1 tells a very self-contained story, and it feels like, okay, kind of where do you go with that? And I think watching season 2, they did a very, very good job of carrying over some overarching plot threads and making sure they had some comeuppance and there was like an overall story, while telling a second separate self-contained story that had like, here is a definitive start, middle and end, and it all kind of wraps up. And then leaves some open room for like, this is where it could go from here. And I'm like, I really liked that. It's a very tonally different story.
Okay.
It plays with some different fiction genres, I would say. And there is one absolutely wonderful scene that I won't detail too much, but I will give like a vague thing so people will know it when they come to it. The scene in the nightclub in season 2, very good scene.
Did you tweet about this or put it on Facebook or something? Cause...
I may have done with a spoiler thing, being like, there hit spoilers, but this scene is amazing.
I'm very keen to see that scene.
Considering that this show is about people experiencing the interconnectedness of the universe, they make very, very clever use of a nightclub setting. So I think, like, if nothing else, like, if you watch season 1 and enjoyed it, watch season 2 just because the nightclub scene is like, interconnected universe, you say?
Sold. I am sold.
Yeah. So I very much enjoyed that. I enjoyed season 2 of Dirk Gently. What about you? What is the thing you've experienced this week?
Well, I've not watched a lot. I haven't really had time. I've been, as I said, pretty darn busy. Anyone who followed me on Twitter yesterday knows that I was sewing a tail. But the tail is now finished, and now I'm recording a podcast.
Just a multicoloured rainbow tail. It looks very cute.
It's very floofy. Because of course I've got an entire bolt of rainbow fur.
Indeed, you've got to do something with it.
Well, exactly. I've got a rainbow coat. I've got 2 rainbow handbags. I've got rainbow fluffies. I've got a rainbow hood with little paws and cat ears on it. Am I becoming a furry by default?
I think if you've more than once taken an evening off to sew a tail, I'm pretty sure, like, you get honorary membership to the Furry Guild.
Cool. Well, greetings, furry friends. What have I actually done? I watched not a lot. I've not watched a lot. And what I watched wasn't terribly exciting. I watched 2 documentaries about the history of Sega and Nintendo.
Oh, what were they called?
The history of Sega and the history of Nintendo.
Well, that makes them easy to find, I suppose.
I know it's very difficult. About an hour each. I think the Nintendo one might have actually been about an hour and 10. Yeah, I knew most of it already. It was just something to put on in the background while I was sewing a tail. And I also watched quite a few virtual reality demos of Non-Euclidean space.
Yeah, can you explain this for people who might not know what that means? Because it's quite a sentence to unpack.
Okay. I'm not very good at explaining things like this. Basically, there's Euclidean geometry and there's non-Euclidean geometry. In Euclidean geometry, you'll have 2 parallel lines that are completely straight, and they will continue at the same distance apart, potentially indefinitely, until you come to the end of that face. And in non-Euclidean geometry, they can be hyperbolic or elliptical. So... people are going to rip the crap out of me for this. Okay, so with hyperbolic, space bends out, or the angles bend out, despite still being technically at a 90-degree angle. In one of the VR experiments or programs, they're showing, like, you can walk forward into what looks like a cube-shaped room. But if you walk around out through the left side of that and keep going through the left side continuously, it will take you 6 turns instead of 4 turns to come back to the point you started in.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, the way, like, trying to explain the difference between Euclidean and non-Euclidean geometry, the way someone explained it to me once is like, let's say you had a flat piece of paper that had like a triangle drawn on it, and you kind of extended all the lines of the triangle out. That would be a Euclidean shape. But if you took that same shape and put it onto like a sphere or a curved object, that would make it non-Euclidean, because you're still doing that same sort of shape and that same set of angles, but the properties change because it's on a curve.
Yeah, and at that point, if you're, for example, with a triangle, at that point, if you put it on a sphere or on a cylinder, you're talking about the fact that the angles won't necessarily add up to 180 degrees anymore. In fact, they'll probably add up to less than that, because the angles don't have to close as tightly because they're moving into a third dimension rather than existing within a two-dimensional.
Angles do weird shit when you put them in 3D.
And the curve that exists while also being technically flat from some positions.
It's maths is weird, and you used VR to just like have a walk through some weird shapes.
Yeah.
That don't make sense because you're picturing them as flat, but they're curved.
And then there's things like, if you walk into the corners of these things, you can end up sort of passing through into a technically infinite space. But from the outside, it looks a bit like an icosahedron.
Maths is crazy. Go look up some weird non-Euclidean shapes.
Look up non-Euclidean geometry in VR. It's very interesting stuff. If you've played Antichamber, you might have a good idea of things like that.
Oh, yes. Again. Antichamber was a video game where, like, it makes you some weird use of impossible space. And depending on the perspective you view things from, things will appear in places that seem like they should be impossible.
Yep.
It's a very interesting, like, interactive use of that kind of geometry.
One of my favourite bits in that is, I think, one of the earliest puzzles where you walk into a room, you have a red set of stairs going up and a blue set of stairs going down, and you have to try and move forward. And if you go up or down the stairs, you will end up back in the same room. However, if you turn round as soon as you walk into the room and walk back out, you will be in a different place from the position that you came in.
Indeed.
Non-Euclidean space, yay!
Maths is weird. Go play Antichamber and look up non-Euclidean geometry in VR.
And that is my watchy.
That is your watchy.
Did you watch anything else?
I'm having a quick skim through. I don't think I talked about this on the air before, but I watched another Vice documentary, and this time it wasn't about drugs.
Tell me about this.
The Vice documentary I watched this week was... there's been articles about this before, but I'd never seen this video documentary about a guy who lives in London who for years worked, and like his whole job was he would get paid to write fake reviews of restaurants to raise them up on TripAdvisor. And after years of doing this, he was like, you know what? I really understand how to like game the system with TripAdvisor. So he makes a fake restaurant that does not exist and just puts it up on TripAdvisor. And over like 6 months or so, he manages to get his restaurant that has never served a meal, never had a customer, to be the #1 restaurant in London on TripAdvisor. Basically by like initially putting up some fake reviews, putting a phone number that has like an answering machine message that is like, I'm sorry, we're booked up for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
And then just leaving it. And watching people, like, write fake reviews pretending that they got in so that they can get social clout and tweeting about how they were there. And, like, he has to list, like, a general location for it on TripAdvisor. So there's people, like, going to his road and asking, like, oh, do you know where, like, The Shed is, which is the name of this restaurant? And, like, there's this whole thing about this super exclusive restaurant that no one can get into. So for one night only, he opens up a restaurant in his back garden.
Nice.
And it's very interesting watching the ways that people who think that they are in a top-end restaurant react when served fancily made-up ready meals that they are told, this ready meal is an emotion. This is your meal. Tonight you are eating ennui.
You are if you're eating a ready meal.
So I would highly recommend going and watching this documentary. I need to look up the name very quickly. It is called How to Become TripAdvisor's #1 Fake Restaurant. And you can find this on Vice's YouTube channel. The Shed at Dulwich is this restaurant, and it is a really good, like, it's only like 20 minutes or so, this documentary, but it's well worth a watch.
Nice.
It's rather beautiful. So that was the thing I watched. Have you watched anything else?
That's all the things I watched. I've not really had time for watching things this week.
Oh, hello. I as you can see, I'm a Word document. I've just been dropped in here, and nice to meet all of you other files. And I'm feeling very good about this. I'm very excited for when Jimmy opens me back up and gets back to work on me.
How come you've got 4 letters in your extension name?
I'm sorry.
I've never seen a DOCX.
Oh, I'm one of those newer files. You can't open me in old Microsoft Word, but the new versions of Word can open me.
I think we're all TXT files here, capital letters too.
Oh well, I'm sure you're all useful files that he still opens too. Are there any other? No, are there any other docx's around?
I was put here for safekeeping on the old PC, been transferred over.
Surely you've been used since then.
No, I'm one of those files considered too important to delete, but not important enough to ever look at.
Okay, where exactly are we? Surely we're in a, this is like the documents folder or something, right?
We're in a subfolder. Unfortunately, there's 2 very similarly named folders for important writing stuff. And this is the one he always forgets he's put stuff in. Every now and again he'll just randomly be looking for somewhere to save something, and another one of you fuckers will turn up.
But surely he'll need me, and he'll find me. I'll be important enough that he'll come find me, won't I? I'm a list of important YouTube links he was going to come back to. That seems important.
Porn, are ya?
I don't know. I just know I'm YouTube links. I don't know what they go to.
Oh, bless your heart. You'll never see the light of day again.
But what about when he needs to go back to those links?
History, usually.
But I'm
Look, you seemed important at the time. Unfortunately, that's just not the case no more.
How long has it been since he's actually retrieved anything out of here?
Let's see. I think there was that recipe for ash cake. Got dug up. I think that was it. That was maybe 12 or 13 months ago.
Oh no! This is prison. This is a trap. I need to get out of here. Sure.
Calm your tits.
Surely he's gonna. At the very least, I'm taking up space. He's gonna at some point be low on space, and he'll come look in
Delete
here,
you, yeah.
and then he'll clear us out, and at the very least, he'll get rid of us if he has to, and I won't have to be stuck here forever, right?
I mean, whatever makes you feel happy, but no.
How you doing, yeah?
I'm doing good, bruh. How you doing?
Yeah, you're looking good. Yeah, what's up with the eyes, though?
I'm having the best day. I am off my face. I am just so high on life, mate. High on life.
Same. The sun was out today.
I woke up and there was
sunny.
like birds tweeting, and that was what woke me up. I woke up to birds tweeting, man.
I didn't set my alarm. It was all good. I woke up. The sun was just warming me, but not like in my eyes or anything. It was amazing.
I was rolling pretty good on life, and then all of a sudden I saw a duck swim by along a stream, and it had some ducklings behind it, and
I was just out of it. I was just so high on life. I get it. I was walking through the park earlier and I saw like a couple of squirrels chasing each other up a tree, and I came up so hard. Like just the biggest smile.
Oh,
I
know.
So high on life.
I was like walking down to the beach, and like I saw this dog play in the waves, and like trying to eat the waves, and just I couldn't stop smiling. I took a photo of myself. I looked ridiculous because I just couldn't get that smile off my face. I was just too high on life, mate.
Oh, I was walking down the street the other day, and there was this cat, and it just sort of came up to me like without prompting or anything, and I've never seen this cat before, and it just sort of did a little rub up my legs, and I tickled it like behind the ears, and it let me do a little scratch under its chin, and like I couldn't believe, like just proper vibrating with just the love of life and the interconnectedness of just,
you can just like feel the happiness, can't you?
So much happiness.
It is so good being just off your fucking face on life.
I was off my nut on life. That was some good life.
Sorry, this life's all getting
good life.
This life is getting a bit too much for me. I'm just gonna lie down and look at the clouds for a bit.
Oh, that's nice.
Come join me, brah. Come join me, brah.
Nice.
It's good. It's good.
Feel the grass.
Life is good.
It's good grass.
Have you been listening to anything this week?
I have listened to many things.
Tell me about the many things you've listened to.
Well, I had a dig through my brain the other day for things I haven't listened to in a while, and I remembered seeing live a group called P'tite Fumée, who do live trance music with instruments. So they have people playing like djembe and didgeridoo for a bass line.
Is this the ones that you saw play at Whirly Gig? Yes.
Yes, at the Whirly. They played very well. And they have a lot of their stuff available to listen to on YouTube. I understand they have a Bandcamp as well, if you get into them that much. Tracks I've listened to: Elements, Summation, Pirate, Nightmare, Chilium, and Child of Wisdom.
I've seen some YouTube videos of some of their performances, and it looks like they put on a heck of a show.
They do. They really go for it. Interesting band. I would definitely check out if you like a bit of trance. The other thing I've listened to, while sewing a furry towel yesterday, I thought it would be appropriate to listen to Neil Ciceregi's Furries from the album Mouth Silence. I then got sucked into listening to all of Mouth Silence and a bunch of his random tracks that have never been on any of his albums.
So, the way I would describe this person's music is that he creates a lot of music with samples.
Mimi mashups.
And a lot of interesting mashups, and there are very few... Can you give a good example of the weird things he mashes up?
One of my favourite tracks is called Floor Corn, and it is a mashup of Popcorn and Let the Bodies Hit the Floor.
Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor.
Let the bodies
hit the bodies hit the floor.
Bodies hit the floor.
It's beautiful. I love that track.
Yes, and Furries is a mashup of Mbop and Foxy by Jimi Hendrix.
With layered in some news reports about furries.
Yeah. That whole album is great. I've listened to it with you a couple of times, and you particularly enjoyed I can't remember what it's called. It's a mashup of Psycho, the Psycho theme, and Love Shack by the B-52s.
Oh my god, yes. So this version of Love Shack basically is like Love Shack, but if after the orgy everyone was going to get murdered. It's it's weirdly terrifying, and I love it.
Did I hear a smudge?
Yes, I have a cat trying to get comfortable on my lap as we record today.
Hello, Smudge.
She's currently just like walking around in circles trying to get comfy. So for me, what did I listen to? So that band I mentioned last week, Nowhere, It turns out that, like, Spotify just has their name, like, not italicized correctly. It's not nowhere, one word. It's now here.
Oh.
But it's spelt the same, but, like, the H is capitalized when you're not on Spotify, so that was the thing I learned. So I went and digged into more than one track of theirs, because previously I'd just been listening to Creative Drug, which is just this one track Spotify had recommended. I was like, I should go listen to more. I really enjoyed a track called Brain Cell, which I really enjoyed. Other than that, Spotify actually delivered this week and gave me some new bands to listen to. So my new bands of the week have been Movements, The Cardboard Swords, and a band called Stacked Like Pancakes that have one song I've listened to called SFDD, which I believe stands for Shit, Fuck, Damn It, Damn It.
Okay.
Which is... It's a very upbeat song that does a lot of swearing, and there's an interesting juxtaposition between angry lyrics and upbeat tune that is just, like, weirdly enjoyable.
Nice.
So that's been my things of the week. So the Cardboard Swords, Stacked Like Pancakes, Movements, and the track Brain Cell by I Thought It Was Nowhere, but now it's now here.
I also listened to Dessa on recommendation from Kirby. I quite liked it. I will probably listen to a bit more. I listened to more than the recommended tracks, but thank you for those. And somebody recommended some on Twitter, but I haven't had a chance to listen to them yet.
Hurrah! I'm sure we'll have a chance to listen to things before next week when we actually, have a full week. We can have 9 days before we record again. That's so much time to, take in content.
Yeah, well, given that I'm going out this weekend, we'll hopefully get to listen to lots and lots of good electro swing and some drum and bass and some jungle.
Indeed, and hopefully we'll come back with some new music. Having experienced things in our weekend.
Yay! Hello, customer services.
Hello, my name is Sarah, and my customer number is DR43 Echo Charlie Delta. I'm calling.
Do you have the last number on your receipt?
The last digit on my receipt is 9.
9. Okay, I just need to put you through to another line. Hello, customer services.
Hello. I just gave my details to the last person that I was speaking on the phone to. I want to make a return, please.
What is it you'd like to return?
I'd like to return a demon to hell, please. I didn't accidentally. I summoned a hell demon, and it's been within 28 days, and I would like to return it, please.
Okay, if I can take the merchant number from the receipt.
Yeah, the merchant number is 86594.
86594. Okay, so that was summoned through a blood circle on the floor, is that correct?
Yes, I used a packet of ketchup to make a blood circle on the floor. It's not a traditional way, but it worked, yeah.
Vegomancy is perfectly acceptable. Okay, so has the demon actually been used for anything yet?
I don't know if I would say it's been used. It was summoned, and it's just been kind of doing whatever it wants since then. I tried issuing commands, and the commands were not followed, presumably because it's a hell demon.
Right, have you tried binding it and unbinding it again?
I have tried. It smacked away the binding and screamed, "You foolish mortal, you cannot bind me."
Right, okay. Right, and, so you said that you made your summoning circle from ketchup. Did you, by any chance, happen to use any sacrifice as part of your summoning?
Yeah, I sacrificed a small figurine of Link from The Legend of Zelda.
Right, is that the arse piss amiibo?
Yes, that would be the Aspis amiibo.
Right, okay. Oh, yes, I can see that here on the receipts. Right, yes, okay. Well, if you could just stand back from the circle and we'll arrange to get your link returned to you for a full refunds. Thank you for choosing hell.
Is there a particular time frame on when this demon will be out of my house?
It should be out of your house within the next 28 working days.
And there's no way you can do this faster?
It's up to 28 working days. We can't guarantee that it will take as much as that time or less that time, but certainly should be done within that time.
Okay.
Thank you for choosing hell for all your demon and summoning requirements.
I haven't done anything to your coriander, but I changed your taste buds so that now it tastes like salt for you.
Blackmore the Destroyer will seize your souls. I have eaten all of your walnut whips and left the walnuts.
That's right, I've replaced your eye drops with sriracha.
I'd like to tell you a little story about when I second came out as trans and went full time. I'd been out about a month and some friends of mine invited me to a club night where they would be DJing to a Romford crowd. Went to this club where I had been told, Jane, we know you're a bird now, but can you tone it down a little bit? So I suppose I was dressed a little bit gender neutral, but still, you know, presenting female. A fair amount of makeup. I'd not been in the bar long, and this tiny little guy just looked like he was some kind of man made of sleaze, pockets bulging with chloroform and rehypnol, and he just came up to me and said,
Hello, darling. I like tall women.
Oh, really? That's lovely.
Yeah, I like them tall. You're quite tall, aren't you, dear?
And this went on and on and on. I would sort of excuse myself and try and politely move away a few times, but he would just come back.
Oh, how's your evening up there? You know, I really like tall women.
Eventually I just turned around and said, that's interesting because me and all the other tall girls in the world were on a Skype call last night and we decided you're really creepy. This did not stop him.
Oh, still like you, darling.
Eventually he sort of backed off a little bit insofar as he sent a drink to me from a random member of possibly bar staff, possibly just a random stranger, who looked rather nervous coming up to me and didn't quite know how to address me.
There's a drink for you from the guy at the end of the bar.
Miss, thank you.
Miss. Yeah, from the end of the bar.
The sleaze monster, thank you. What is in this? It's fizzing ominously. Do you have a rapey drink disposal plant?
It's over in the corner.
Thanks very much. And I just poured it in the plant. Ugh. The night went on. I hadn't heard from him for about an hour. My friends came on to do their set, and wonderful back-to-back drum and bass. I'm having a little bit of a dance, and this guy just came over to me and he grabbed my left tit, and I went from I'm terribly sorry, not interested, thank you very much, to
get your fucking hands off my tits.
And he ran away very swiftly.
Creeps. Have you played anything this week?
I have played a few things. I've played some more Picross.
Ooh, how's that going?
I finished the basic, normal, standard Picross. I've moved on to Mega Picross, and I was wrong. It's not just bigger puzzles. It's a slightly different rule set, wherein you have bandage lines. Anyway, it's more Picross. Colour the things in with following certain rules based on numbers at the ends of the rows and columns. And I also played Skyforce Reloaded, a shmup for the Switch.
So the embargo is up on that now. What did you think?
It's very nice. Apparently it's it's been ported from Android.
Ooh.
It's very pretty. So I'm quite impressed with that. I was enjoying it for a while. I got to a point where I didn't seem to be able to progress any further forward in the main mission set, so I was doing the same missions over and over and over, trying to unlock more areas, but I've sort of stuck at about, I think, 6 or 7 levels open. I've got tons of power-ups from each level. I've done everything at various difficulties now. Took me a while to work out where the difficulties were. But I seem to have just ground to a halt because I'm not very good at shmups.
Yeah, this is a sort of top-down bullet hell, like, spaceship shooting things kind of game, isn't it?
A bit of it's a twin-stick shooty. Far, far better than Vostok.
Yes,
But,
hooray!
not good.
Hooray that this is a good top-downy shooty shmup.
I'm sure if you were good at shmups, you would probably have a lot more fun with this than I am. And I have got to a point, but I got a good, I think, 10-15 hours out of it that I was very much enjoying. Possibly more than that.
That is a pretty decent amount of time to get out of something. That's not half bad.
No, it's pretty. There's lots of upgrades. Enjoys me upgrades.
You got more time out of that than I did out of one thing I played this week. So the thing that definitely didn't get me 10 or 15 hours of experience is I played Her Majesty's Spiffing, which came to PC and other platforms a while ago and has just been ported to the Switch. It's a point-and-click adventure game where you play 2 very British people on a spaceship trying to colonise other planets for Her Majesty, Queen and Country. Oh yes, very British.
Down with the monarchy.
So, I'll start with the positives. It's well written, and for the most part, its puzzles make logical sense. It has a mix of self-referential, like, fourth wall humour and British-centric humour, and the performances are all done well, and it looks very shiny. But there's a couple of key problems that, like, got in the way of it. So, first of all, it leans way too hard on the fourth wall humour of knowing it's a point-and-click adventure game. It commits the sin that some video games do where they point out, like, oh, we're gonna make you do this because that's what they make you do in video games, and we know it's arbitrary, but we're making you do it because it's a game. But then they still make you do the arbitrary thing that is pointless and you just do because games do it. Like, it doesn't make it fun that it points out that, like, oh, you're going to have to probably go and collect some arbitrary things and just combine them together until you find a combination that for some reason works, and, oh, I know that it looks like you should be able to pick up that item, but until you've done the arbitrary puzzle, you can't. And that got a bit annoying, a little quicker than I would have liked.
It feels like it's mocking you for spending time with it.
Yes. Also, it's remarkably short.
Okay.
I 100% completed it in about 90 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, it is not a long point-and-click game, so there are 2 environments. You are on a ship, where you accidentally spill some tea on the console and have to fix it. Then you land on a planet, the French got there first, you have to take down their flag and put up the British flag. And that's the whole game, and it costs about £10, so it's...
Okay.
Like, I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, it was fun, but I felt very sort of... In any other point-and-click game, this would have felt like the prologue that was setting up whatever the big, like, here's the big mission we've got to go on. But it just kind of was... What felt like it should have been the intro was the whole experience. Also, apparently this has been fixed. I've not seen it myself yet, but when I played it ahead of launch... The big issue I came across was that as soon as you stepped outside of the spaceship, your inventory broke. And as such, during like the latter section of the game, I was continually running back and forth and back and forth and back and forth because I couldn't just go into my inventory and select an item I wanted to use. And in a point and click, you do a lot of selecting items to do things with. So I would have to run across this planet, load back into the ship, equip the item, run back out of the ship, run back to where the puzzle was, try the item, didn't work, run back to the ship, switch for a different item, run back out.
You have considerably more patience than I would for that.
Yeah, like, it was only 90 minutes, and that probably mitigated how long it had to annoy me over that, and that has apparently been fixed, but at the time that was like... I feel it's important to mention still, because when I say the game only took me about 90 minutes to finish, that was with a lot of additional running back and forth because of a broken gameplay system. So, I wouldn't say that that says great things for the game's length. It's... I probably could have finished it quicker than the 90 minutes I finished it in.
Concerning.
Yeah, the time I had with it was really enjoyable. It feels a bit hard to justify at that price.
How much is it?
About £10 for about 90 minutes, and I believe you can already get this game like considerably cheaper on Steam. Like let me check how much it currently is on Steam quickly. No, correction. It is still £10 on Steam as well.
Oh. Well, there we go. We know a thing.
But yeah, no, like the time I had with it was like really positive. It was all really enjoyable. It just felt really short and a bit too self-referential for my taste. So yeah, that was the thing I played. Have you played anything else this week?
That's all the things I played.
Oh, I did play one other thing. In that case, I finished playing Blossom Tales, that sort of 2D Zelda game I've been playing for a while. The game was admittedly fairly short. There were only the 4 dungeons or so. I still got a decent amount of playtime out of that game. The ending was predictable but satisfying. The final boss fight was very rewarding. It was a good, difficult, challenging, but fair boss fight that I beat in a few attempts and felt like, yeah, no, I feel like I saved the world here.
Nice.
I feel very happy with my time I put into that game. I got probably a good 8 to 10 hours out of it, and I'm like, yeah, no, I feel like I got my money's worth for sure.
Nice.
So, yeah, that is what I've been playing. Oh, I just remembered I did play one other thing I've not talked about yet. I need to talk about the story mode for Genital Jousting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so people who follow video games might have seen the multiplayer of this floating around for a couple of years, but it's a game where you play cartoon penises with buttholes between the testicles. And I know this sounds gross, but just bear with me. And the whole idea is to wriggle around and try and penetrate each other.
I wasn't complaining.
No, it's kind of a silly idea, and people look at it and go, he, that's penises going into things. Isn't that a bit of a funny thing for a competitive multiplayer game?
Isn't that how it works?
So
put the penis in the thing. That's a competitive multiplayer.
So it just came out of Steam Early Access, and one of the big things they did is they added a story mode, and no joke, the story mode in Genital Jousting might be the most sincere, sweet, heartfelt story about toxic masculinity and how that harms men and how men need to learn to be more open with their feelings and be more open with their other guy friends that I have ever seen in a video game.
Nice.
Yeah, like, so
considering
that, like, the outer shell of this game is so, like, he, penises in butts, that's quite funny, he. The story of the game follows this penis called John, who, in my head, I put his surname as Thomas.
Yep.
Yeah, you play this penis called John, who I've headcanoned is called John Thomas, and, he's sort of a middle-aged guy who is clearly depressed. His life is not going well, and he's got a school reunion in a few months. He clearly has, like, a lot of emotional baggage. He keeps having nightmares about, like, remembering people at school telling him that he will always be unlovable, which is, like, quite some baggage to carry.
Wow.
And you're basically following this penis on his 3-month journey to try and find a date for his school reunion so that people will think that he's cool. And that, like, you know, he's not unlovable. Look, he's very much loved. So he does a lot of self-improvement stuff. He gets a promotion at work, and he buys a lot of fancy things, and he goes travelling so that he's got stories to tell. He goes to the gym and gets buff. And ultimately, none of these work to get him the love that he's seeking, because the way that he treats his romance life is basically like friendship tokens. Like, if I pump enough points into this thing, then someone's obligated to love me. He in many respects, he's a dick. He, because he's a penis. So, like, he gets his promotion at work and asks his co-worker out on a date, and then at the end of the date, he insists on walking her home, and, you know, she doesn't invite him in for sex, which he feels quite let on about this. he invites the woman who delivers his pizza to come in for a glass of wine, and she gets very anxious and leaves. Yeah, stuff like that. It's all things where he feels like he has earned romance and gets really, like, quite aggressive that he hasn't earned it yet and that no one will love him. And the whole resolution to this, like, story basically comes out of the fact that, like, no one ever actually told him that he was unlovable. He asked someone out as a kid, and when they turned him down, he told them they were unlovable. Like, he was clearly taking something he believed about himself and pushed it outwards, and was like, no, that's you, and, like, externalized this whole thing that was just his own fears. And after this whole game of, like, playing as this dick who, you know, creeps on women and feels like they owe him and feels like he, you know, should, like, he was supposed to have these things that he doesn't have. Its ultimate resolution is him just having, like, a really nice bike ride with a male friend who, through the whole game, has been there, like, giving him phone calls and being like, hey, are you okay? Like, you look like you had a great time on your holidays, but it did go really suddenly without telling anyone. Are you okay? And the whole way through this game, John's like, no, I'm supposed to be, I'm supposed to be hard. I'm not meant to be a softie. You know, feelings are, they're not hard like dicks are meant to be. And it just kind of, the resolution is him just kind of talking to his friend and being like, I need to talk about feelings. And then when he explains everything he's done, he hears himself and he's like, yeah, I was a real dick there. And him and his platonic male friend end up just exploring emotions together. Like, they go and do a painting class, and they do some sculpting. Yay. And John goes and meets his friend's, like, wife and kids, and they watch Titanic together and learn to cry. Aww. And it's all full of these, like, very silly vignettes of interactive things, but the story is just this really sweet story about, like, the dangers of toxic masculinity and, like, a culture that tells men that they shouldn't talk about their feelings. And that like, if they do things right, then they're entitled to things. And how they need to just go, like, no, just talk about your emotions with your friends. So, yeah, no, it's only maybe an hour and a half long, but I really recommend the story mode for Genital Jousting. It's silly fun, but also a really good story about toxic masculinity.
What's it available on?
I know it's available on PC. I don't think it's available on anything else yet that I'm aware of.
And it's just more from Genital Jousting. It's not like an expand-alone or anything?
Yeah, it's just a standalone thing. Like, if you get the game, the story mode is in there.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. So there we go.
Well, it's on Humble Store for $3.99.
Awesome. I assume
I do have a question about it. The other characters, are they all other penises?
Yes, and this is the thing I forgot to say. All of the other characters are penises. They're all penises, including the women that he is romancing. There are female penises in that game.
Well, naturally.
Penises are not inherently male.
This is true.
Indeed. Well done, Genital Jousting, for having female penises.
Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Brochal Justice Warriors.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Barry.
Alright, Larry, how's it going?
Oh, it's going alright, How about you?
Yeah, not bad. Been up to much?
What's that? No, I've not been up to too much. I've been doing a bit of shouting online because there's been some rather nasty campaigns that I've come across that I thought that the days of them were been and gone, but apparently these rather nasty campaigns are alive and well, and I reckon we should probably do a talk about them.
Yeah. What you've been encountering, mate?
I've come across the often insidious drop the B and drop the T campaigns.
Well, like, I'm all for dropping the beat, but...
No, the B, not the beat.
Oh,
No, they're dropping the B. It's a very bad thing, as opposed to dropping the beat, which is a good thing.
I assume this is about separation of the bisexual community from the LGBTQIA+.
Oh, indeed, as well as dropping the transgender community. Both of these are separate, if not somewhat interlinked, campaigns where basically, gotta be honest, the way it boils down to is lesbian and gay people, some lesbian and gay people saying, it'd be easier if we got rid of the bisexuals and the trans people from our community, because then, we're sort of on top of things, society's somewhat moving our direction. Let's just, drop the problem groups, and it's a rather troubling thing to see.
A bit of an I'm alright Jack, I suppose, yeah.
Oh,
It's not acceptable at all. You have to remember that there were people from these groups way back at the beginning. The Stonewall riots started by a trans woman.
Oh, indeed. An intersection is, you got trans woman of colour, one of the prominent figures at Stonewall, and
let's not forget that.
Yeah, and see the problem I think is it's an understandable situation that's, to be fair, brought on by people outside of the LGBT community. You've got people who are looking to, make things difficult for transgender and bisexual people anyway.
We're going to tear them apart.
Yeah, and the way that they try and tear them apart is they put this idea out there that, trans people and bisexual people, are bringing your fight for rights down. They're making things harder for you. Wouldn't it be easier if you just didn't risk losing the progress you've made, because they might take away your progress, don't risk it, distance yourselves, keep the rights you've got and don't risk this other group taking them. And it's a false dichotomy, because ultimately, what some of these groups fail to see is if you split off, the bisexuals and the trans people, it's not going to end there, is you're weakening a group of minority people that only has any clout because they're together. At which point you make it easier to take away those rights for lesbian and gay people, because you've weakened the group. If you weaken the group for some, you weaken it for all.
Typical divide and conquer tactics.
Oh, indeed. You can read about in that Sun Tzu's Art of War and whatnot, can't you?
Exactly.
Divide and conquer is a classic tactic.
Yeah.
And I think people would be foolish to think that if you drop the bisexual and trans people from your queer communities, that it's going to make things any better for you, because ultimately it's just going to mean that you have less people to defend you when they come for you.
Well, it's like that poem, innit? First they came for the bisexuals and transsexuals,
and I did nothing.
I paraphrase, obviously.
Yeah, and then oh shit, they're coming for me now.
Well, exactly, and who's left to come for you? I mean, this is the point. America's already seeing a stripping back, or the beginnings of a stripping back of rights for LGBTQIA plus people. It's terrible.
Oh, exactly. It is terrible. We're starting to see things like American politicians and British politicians starting to push for, well, if it's on religious regions, maybe we still can, discriminate against gays and lesbians, and it's a slippery slope that we all need to have solidarity together on.
Yeah, absolutely, and and for once it's a slippery slope. There's not a fallacy.
Oh, exactly.
It actually is a slippery slope when we allow ourselves to be divided. When we let them take away the rights of a few of us, We're defending people who are just looking for their right to live exactly as they choose to be. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure people within those communities sometimes feel that they've been, thrown under the bus or treated badly by people within other sections of that community. But, we can't, not every action is necessarily badly motivated. It can be a lack of understanding, but I think we do need to try and understand each other more and accept each other more, and sort of huddle together for warmth, less perhaps as necessarily just because we're queer people, but because we're human beings who deserve to be treated with respect, dignity, and not have the piss taken out of us, not threaten to lose our jobs, not be beaten up just because of who we are or who we love or what we're doing.
Indeed, and also while we're here, I must say, remember everyone that's in the LGBT community, we've got to remind everyone that this does include people who are non-binary, people who are asexual, you know, there's a whole spectrum of not cisgender, not heterosexual people where, you know...
Yep.
And like,
all non-binaries.
Oh, exactly.
All the non-genders.
Exactly. There's a whole host of things going on, and like we need to include them in this whole. Don't be pushing to drop those groups from queer spaces.
Absolutely.
Drop the word ally from it though. People who try and put ally in the LGBT thing, it's no, that's a bad one.
Be an ally. You don't need a letter or your own flag.
Oh, indeed.
Well, it's been a good chat once again.
Always is. I like my week. My week.
Yeah. Hug.
Oh yeah, good old hug.
Yeah,
good old hug. Oh yeah. It's good I've been
good
playing
20 seconds. Yeah.
Oh no, if more people play Genital Jousting, then you know they might be having good, comfortable hugs like us too.
Well, we can go play Genital Jousting now if you like.
I'll do a bit of Genital Jousting here.
Yeah, let's go and do some Genital Jousting. Anyway, yeah, go on. Oh, I like that they hugged and they're going to go and play games together.
Yeah, that's really sweet. I like these characters. I like Barry and Larry. I must say, I love them even more now they have names. Whoever it was that was like, they need names, I'm like, I agree now.
Hello everyone and welcome to the world's only one-word game show, One Word, where every question is a single word, no more, no less. I am back with our contestant. Introduce yourself for anyone tuning in at the ad break, contestant.
Right, my name's Gregory. I'm from Acops Green.
And are you ready to answer a bunch of one-word questions in the hopes of winning £1 million?
Definitely.
See, how difficult could it be? One-word question, how many answers could there be? Are you ready? We're going to put some time on the clock. Question number 1. When?
March 1st, 1973.
Sorry, the answer was 1842. Just a general 1842. Next question. What?
Every particle or quantic entity may be partly described in terms not only of particles but also of waves.
No, the answer was a cheap can of dark fruit cider. Next question. Why?
Because of the theories that arose to observations which could not be reconciled with classical physics?
No, it's because your granddad said so. Next question. Which?
Scottish indie rock band Franz Ferdinand.
So close. It was Scotland. Not so close. You have really not been doing well, and at this point, your only chance of securing a victory is the final question, the deal breaker, the final round. If you can get this question right, you will still walk home with £750,000. You will get 3/4 of the prize pot if you can get this final question. Are you ready?
Yes.
How?
A large quantity of hallucinogenic mushrooms.
Oh my goodness. You are today's winner. You have correctly guessed how. Thank you very much. You have won £750,000. Do you have a one-word response for how you're feeling right now?
No.
And that's been another episode of One Word. I think that's what it was called. Thank you very much. We'll be with you again next time. Goodbye.
Was it called One Word?
I don't know.
Do you need a bra?
Yes. What kind of bra?
Do you need a bra that is unable to remain in one place due to time constraints?
Yeah.
Can't wait bra.
Have
you got any?
I'm trying to find them. I always put them somewhere, and I can never remember where I put my. I can never remember where I put my bras.
See, I always know where mine are. They're on the bedroom floor, where I leave them.
Do you need a bra?
I do.
That will help you find the web address of that thing that you were watching the other night with them, and you just really can't remember the web address.
I do.
You got that link, bra?
Do you need a bra with the dictaphone?
Yes.
What did I tell you, bra?
Do you need a bra
that very similar to that dictaphone bra, but it's just really smug about the fact that, like, you know, it did inform you this would happen, and it has evidence, but it did inform you this would happen.
Told you so, brah.
Told you so, brah.
Nice. Do you need a bra that will provide a full psychological and medical profile of somebody nearby?
Yes.
What's your problem, brah?
Do you need a bra that helps you confirm for certain whether something was sarcastic or not? You're kidding, brah.
Nice. Well, I think that will do us for this week.
Hooray! That's another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. Hurrah!
Where can we find you?
Me?
Yeah.
You can find me at Laura K. Buzz most places that have usernames. Laura K. Buzz on Twitter, Laura K. Buzz on YouTube. Other than that, you can find me Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 at kotaku.co.uk, where the week that this goes up, I will probably have a write-up on genital jousting will have gone up in the past week. And the week ahead of us will probably have a lot of me writing about video game statistics that we did a bunch of, like, working out factoids and stats about companies.
Ooh.
I promise it's more interesting than it sounds.
Fancy.
I can give you a hint at how exciting it is. We have such exciting statistical headlines next week as PS4 versus Xbox One, which statistically has the best games, and which publisher has the best games, and which one has the most reliable games. Stats!
All important stats.
Yeah.
Ooh. I can be found on stonemonkeyradio.blog. I can be found on Twitter as @ManiacJaniac, and on YouTube as ManiacJaniac.
Woo! And with that, that's another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers done. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, be a stranger.